So in 2014, in February, March, I get a phone call asking like, "Hey Ivan, where are you at?" I was on active duty at the time, and I got called in like, "Hey, we're putting this Ukraine crisis team together. Would you be interested in? What do you know about what's going on in Eastern Ukraine? This and that." I'm like, "How many weeks you got for me to give you the?" Because this is how I think.
Yeah.
They're like, "All right, can you get your boss to allow you to be there?" So I was on a special duty assignment that someday I'll talk about, but I got pulled from that to go to the Ukraine crisis team and basically be one of the lead analysts doing 12-hour shifts, advising our National Command Authority, meaning that Paul Becker was the Joint Staff J2, which is a senior intelligence officer in the Pentagon. He worked for the director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, your dad.
Yeah.
So my stuff was getting, without your dad knowing, like my products were getting sent to him as it applies to Ukraine, and then also to the National Command Authority, right?
Yeah.
Obama. The first thing that I should have said was, since Russia is not claiming those little green men, we should consider them as terrorists. And what do we do with terrorists? We don't negotiate with them.
Yeah.
You execute them.
Yeah.
And then we call Russia's bluff. That's something that I would have liked to have said. And when the National Command Authority didn't do anything, guess what? Nothing happens. 2014 Ukraine crisis team. That's why I kind of know a little bit more about the Biden criminal syndicate than most, based on my time here. This part, I didn't really know much. You guys set that up after he was resigned by Obama.
Yeah.
And it was for speaking truth to power. That was the second time that he spoke truth to power, delivering the truth. Wasn't much cost there because he was protected. But here, he was retired, right? Resigned. So he gives every year the Defense Intelligence Agency and the senior leaders of the intel community
That was
give their threat assessment.
That's not the full picture, but that's.
So it's 1, 2, 3, Comey's down here, and then another guy.
Yeah.
And he's basically saying, this is what I see, what the threat is. And they asked him, no, you're not going to say that, because basically they wanted him to say that at this time, ISIS is a JV team, right, according to the Hussein. He's like, no, I'm not changing my assessment. This is what I think. Well, apparently he was the one that was right. As Tucker Carlson said, he was the one that said the truth, and the other guys were basically perjuring themselves with felonies before Congress. He puts that out. Obviously, everybody sees it, and then he gets thrown out for speaking truth to power.
Yeah, I mean that's really when the political persecution began, because I'll never forget when General Flynn told me about he was called into Clapper's office. Like he kind of knew, like the writing was on the wall, so to speak, and he said he went in there, and Clapper's just like, we're gonna need you to step down. And the first thing that General Flynn said was, does it have anything to do with my leadership? And Clapper was like, no, it has nothing to do with that. So it was like, it was obvious after that it was, it was because of that exact threat assessment, and then subsequently that, that congressional hearing, which is just crazy to think about. It's like, because you don't say the right thing, you don't toe the fucking line.
Yep.
They just don't have any use for you.
People like me that are one of the 15, 17, whatever thousand within DIA or even the broader intel community that are monitoring this closely, we talk to each other, right?
Yeah.
It's like, we see it for what it is, and it's unacceptable.
Yeah.
So I reached out to him on LinkedIn the very next morning. I was like, hey, you don't know me from Adam, Ivan Raiklin. I'm sitting here at the Ukraine crisis team. I know exactly, it's obviously political.
Yeah.
You got a loyal soldier for whenever you need me.
Yeah.
And that's when you guys started FIG.
Yeah.
And then later on, remember Graham Plaster?
I do remember Graham.
This was about the time frame where, remember he started up TIC, the Intelligence Community LLC, and then your dad was on the board.
Yep.
Right, all that. He had me on the board as well. In August of 2015. So think about this from the perspective of Obama, Biden, Clapper, Comey, all those guys. So one of the senior members, and Brennan, the senior intel officials that just got thrown out politically, confirmed unanimously by the Senate, appointed by Obama twice to senior positions.
Yeah.
Actually, one of the positions that, for 1 year before he was the director of the DIA, he was the director of national intelligence.
It was
As like the guy that coordinated everything from international intel partners to state, local, and tribal in the United States to protect our country, right?
Yeah, he's assistant DNI to Clapper.
Yep.
I mean, he didn't. Yeah, I mean, he basically, while Clapper sat in Washington, General Flynn, traveled around to every agency in the country. I mean, from border agencies to to everything.